Good morning and welcome to my channel, and my name is Sonia. Get situated here. I feel like I should cut my hair. It's bothering me. It's getting wild and gray. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Today we're going to talk about cursing. Basically in the context of historical witchcraft, which, you know, pretty much it can be for today too, but as far as what it meant in historical witchcraft. And it was never some kind of random malice. It was a tool. It was like a logical, I feel, response to injustice. A way to enforce some social boundaries, a method of protection even, and a form of magical retaliation. And it was a community recognized power. Witches were feared because their curses worked or were believed to. And importantly, cursing was part of the social role of the witch, just like healing was. They were either really well known for their healing or they were really well known for curses. The most common form of curses was the spoken one. And historically, it was the simplest and most feared because it was the spoken word. So a witch might mutter a charm, or speak a threat, or utter a rhyme, whisper a malediction, or call upon spirits or saints. People would believe the witch's words carried power because of her pact she was known to have with spirits, her familiars. She had a reputation, and so she knew charms. There are some examples from records that include, like, you'll rue this day. We still hear that one. Your cow will give no milk. Misfortune will follow you. Now, no one took these as empty threats, and one of the most consistent curses in trial records was the witch sending their familiar spirit to blight crops and to sour the milk. They were sent to cause illness and frighten livestock and bring nightmares and create misfortune. The familiar was the agent. It was the messenger. It was the enforcer. The familiars were feared because they were the witch's hands in the unseen world. Puppets, images, effigies, they were the voodoo dolls in European folk magic. This is sympathetic magic. These were wax figures, clay figures, cloth dolls, and carved wooden images. These would be stuck with sharp objects. They would be melted. They would be buried, burned, and bound. These actions symbolically affected the target, and these were documented in English witch trials, Scottish witch trials, Germanic folklore, Italian folk magic, and cunning folk manuals. Cursed objects were placed where the target would encounter them. A hidden charm. And some common ones of these would be bones or feathers, hair, nails, pins, toads, eggs, heart-shaped objects. They would be hidden under thresholds or in chimneys, in barns, in beds, in fields. And the idea was that the object carried the curse, and the land or the home would absorb it. They cursed their food and drink also. It was not about poisoning. That's like a whole different type of crime there. They would blow on food. They would whisper over the ale. They would drop a charm into milk, and they would stir with a magical intention. The curse entered the body through the consuming of the food and drink, and this appears in Scottish witch lore, in English cunningcraft, and Scandinavian folk magic. Then there's the blasting and withering curses. Witches were believed to blast crops, spoil the butter, curdle the milk, dry up the wells, and cause storms. These would be done through a spoken charm, spirit sending, sympathetic actions like drying herbs to dry a field, offerings to land spirits with harmful intent. This is where the term blasting comes from. Then, of course, we have the evil eye. This was not just in the Mediterranean. It also appears in English folklore, Scottish lore, Germanic traditions, and Slavic traditions. A witch's gaze was believed to cause illness, to bring misfortune, and to harm livestock. The damage I could do with just a gaze. I think all of us kind of think that right now. Some witches cursed through the dead. They worked with the grave dirt, the bones, the skulls, the spirits of the dead. And the dead were powerful allies in vengeance, justice, protection, and retribution. I think I have a subject on the working with the dead coming soon. This was documented in the English cunning craft, in Germanic necromantic traditions, and Slavic folk magic. Witches cursed through the weather. They would raise storms. They would call winds. They brought hail, and they spoiled harvests. Now, this was done with knot magic, spoken charms, spirit sending, and symbolic actions like whipping water to whip up storms. This appears in the Scottish witch trials, Scandinavian sagas. These are the epic prose narratives and historical accounts from the 12th to the 14th centuries. And Baltic folklore. The curse was a social power, and a witch's curse was feared because the community believed in her power. Her reputation would amplify the effect of whatever she was cursing, and the target, they would expect the misfortune. And so they believed her spirits would enforce her will. So cursing was as much psychological and social as it was also magical. So cursing was a real part of the witch's role, just like healing was. And it wasn't done lightly. It was done when they were wronged, when boundaries were crossed, and when justice was needed. So 2 books I have right off. The Cunning Folk and Familiar Spirits with Emma Wilby again. She shares some stories in here from confessions and trial records of some alleged curses that were shared. And then we have Kate Fueller's of Blood and Bones, working with shadow magic and the dark moon. She has a chapter, I believe it's chapter 10, on cursing and other magical manipulations. So that's cursing and historical witchcraft, what it meant, and another section of traditional witchcraft. So until next video, I'll see you then.